Buongiorno and welcome to my Way of Thinking podcast, or my What for Short, hosted by me, Lee Greeno, here live from the Man Cave every week. Now, I've got a very special episode for you today. Now, if you've been watching SAS Who Dares Wins, I'm a big fan, love it. I think it's in the 6th season now. You know a lot of the characters, a lot of people that's on there, and it's the final finale, whatever you want to call it, this Sunday. So I thought I'd get a very special guest on, and one of my favourite contestants from this series is Holly Hutchinson. I was absolutely amazed when she turned up. Of course, if you've watched some of the show, you know Holly's transgender, and she was put through it. And I really wanted to get her on the show. She agreed to come on, which I was so happy with. And this is one of my favourite interviews. We just talk about everything. We go deep into SAS and what the show's really like. It sounds worse than we actually see. And she's just a brilliant character. She talks about the way she's always looking forward, always trying new challenges. She's just so courageous and such an inspiration. You're going to love this, so make sure you keep listening in. Now, my way of thinking is all about us, amazing human beings that all have stories to tell. Those stories can vary massively, but with the guests I'll be interviewing, you'll be able to take a little bit of advice or insight into how extraordinary we can all be. And trust me, Holly is extraordinary. Now, remember, 4 rules: 1, no bullshitting; 2, no judging; 3, no negativity; and 4, have fun. And we had some serious fun in this episode. Now, previous episodes, if you know the show, it's not a niche show. I should be better at niching it to get a bigger audience and doing lots of things, but I just enjoy talking to interesting people. I'm sorry. And on the previous shows, we've had people like Nellie Miles, who's a spokeswoman for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. We talk about American law and what's going on over there. Lovely lady. Before that was Adam Doherty. He's a sculptor, worked on Jurassic Park, Independence Day, fascinating character. So as you can see, the show is not always quite straightforward, but you'll always take a little bit of insight and advice on how extraordinary we can all be and how these characters are all extraordinary as well, which is what we're all here for. It's the human race. We're all extraordinary. Okay, remember the podcast streaming on the usual platforms: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube as well, if you want to see this beautiful face. Not so beautiful this morning, I'm knackered. Just put My Way of Thinking podcast in and we pop up everywhere. Remember to subscribe and rate. And finally, if you think you'd be a good guest or you know someone would be a good guest, then email me. It's mywhatpodcast@aol.com. Right, enough of me ranting. Listen to this fabulous interview. This is with a brilliant Holly. Okay, welcome to My Way of Thinking, and today I have a very special guest on. It is the one and only Holly Hutchinson. Woo! Welcome, Holly.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just chatting a bit rubbish for a bit and getting to sort of tell people about myself. So it's all good.
Excellent stuff. And the other good thing is as well, I've managed to get you on as we lead up to the final episode of SAS Who Dares Wins, which is this Sunday, isn't it?
This Sunday.
Yeah, you can give us all the dirt on all the instructors because they're not here anymore to give you grief.
That's it. They can't shout at me. There's no more angry men to shout at me or make me run around or be cold. The cold. We'll cover all that because it is a fascinating program. I mean, that's one thing. You've been on it, but you've got to admit it's just a fascinating thing. Now, what I always do whenever I get a guest on, before we get stuck in, I like to talk about a couple of news stories that I've spotted in the week. And I'll look at the news because I like to know what's going on. But you know what it's like. A lot of it is depressing shit, and I like to try and find something funny. Now, this one really interests me when I spotted this today. It is this guy, Les Jones, 83, from Yorkshire, was left baffled by the cost of food in the city when his son ordered the family meal delivery on his bank card. He joked that he needed therapy after paying £54 for 4 portions of fish and chips at a London restaurant. I know! This is mad.
Les Jones was left baffled by the cost of the food in the city after his son ordered the meal. Gareth said his dad gave him his bank card to treat the family. Okay. And Gareth tweeted, Dad wanted to buy fish and chips. We let him give his card to pay. He's now trying to access therapy as he realises that fish and chips, 4 rounds of fish and chips was £54. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is, one, it's extortionate. But have you noticed in lockdown, sometimes we'll get a takeaway and you've got the delivery price on top of the takeaway. You know, we had a McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's like 25 quid. And you're like, hold on. You lose perspective, don't you?
Yeah, because I think the thing you've got to remember is, like, okay, a takeaway's a treat, but it's not like anything posh, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like going to a posh restaurant. It's supposed to be like cheap-ish food. Because I think it's the same for me. Whenever I go back to see my parents, you know, we'll get a takeaway. And for the 3 of us, it's something like 30, 40 quid.
Yeah. It seems, I think, mad. I know we've been through lockdown, obviously, but I think some places are seriously taking the piss a little bit. They're taking advantage of it.
That's it.
And I think
they know we're limited, so they're just like, well, let's get the old wheelbarrow out, get those shovels out, and we can just shovel it in.
But I think my lad, because he said, oh, do you want something the other morning? I said, no. And he got something like a Costa, you know, a coffee and a sandwich. Yeah. And it was like 18 quid. And I was like, what you had?
You see, you know what you can do? Yeah. So go to Costa once and keep the cup. And then every time you make a coffee in the morning, just put it in that cup and then close your eyes. Or get your wife to give it to you and say, I got you a Costa.
I think it was cold as well. I was, I wouldn't have paid for that. But it is an interesting one, the way that the takeaways, some of them have gone up. And the delivery fees, I've noticed, I mean, the delivery people are brilliant. They work hard. Let's get that straight. But you can pay like £2.50 and then some places £5.99 for delivery. Like, that's a lot of money, really, isn't it?
It's ridiculous, like, because, you know, like, if we go back to £54, that's like a 2-week budget for some families for like their whole food.
Yeah, so, it's crazy because I think back when we were a one-parent family, we didn't have much money, and to have a McDonald's, but when they first started out, was like a real treat. Yeah. I think some families now. Do you remember the time? You know, when it was a real treat.
It was like, it was maybe once every 2 months or something.
Yeah,
we'll go to McDonald's, we'll sit down, get the little trays with the crap advertising on.
Anyway, so that interests me. And now this one was interesting because this is about a new TikTok craze, which always worries me when I hear things like that.
Oh, God.
A fit and healthy 20-year-old woman suffered a heart attack, and it's called the Dry Scoop Challenge. What they're doing, it's sweeping across social media. In April, the student ingested a mouthful of pre-workout protein powder without diluting it with water for an energy boost. And I work at a leisure centre, and obviously you're into fitness.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Because it's dangerous stuff that all the kids seem to have these little pots of caffeine powder now. It's dangerous, isn't it?
It's, to be honest, you shouldn't need a pre-workout because, you know, I'm all for, so I do have my post-workout shake. I'm fine with that. You know, get some milk, post-workout shake. I do take branched-chain amino acids, but there's no point in just having it for the sake.
Yeah.
Because you're there to work hard. You're there to be in pain a little bit.
Yeah,
you know, It's not a magical adventure where you're going to skip around and have a laugh and stuff.
Yeah.
And but especially considering, because this is one thing that kind of grinds my gears, is I don't really do the gym, but I see so many young people that will do a set and have a half an hour break in between each set.
On the phone.
Why do you even need it?
Yeah.
You know, you're doing a workout.
I know. It's true. I mean, I could tell straight away, Holly, we're old school where, you know, I don't go to the gym to sit on my phone. I'll go there an hour, smash it out, go home, feel good. But I think a lot of kids now think they can take pre-workout and that'll do the job for them, which is worrying, isn't it? Because you have to put the effort in.
It's that, but it's also dangerous because there's so many sort of chemicals and stuff in there. You know, the amount of caffeine that's in there, if you do it regularly, it's like drinking Red Bulls every day.
Oh, yeah.
It's not good for you.
Yeah, I mean, this lady, you know, she did it because it was a TikTok challenge, which is terrifying because other kids see it, and this is what's wrong with social media. You know, social media, I've said this before on the show, can be great, but it can also be very bad. And this is a perfect example. So she did that, went to the gym, started getting pins and needles, thought something's not right, went to the hospital, and they said, you've had a mini heart attack. And I think, it's just worrying. I think people need to be more responsible. You know, when you see the idiots online showing off, well, someone might see that, try it, and not be as lucky as you. But it is frightening.
That's it. Because I think, you know, the one thing that I always say to people is, you're unique. You know, do what you want to do. And to be honest, I'm surprised you managed to get it down her mouth without any sort of milk or anything. I just spit it out. I couldn't do it.
I know. And the other thing is, there's no easy route to fitness. You have to put the work in. You will,
Absolutely.
you'll feel better afterwards, but you can't. There's no easy route. You get out what you put in, and that's always true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I feel like, you know, these sort of get the splits in 10 days, or get a six pack in 30 in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's all bollocks.
What?
I'm sorry to shatter that illusion, but it's a load of bollocks. It really is.
I know.
Because the thing is, to me, this is how you can spot a good PC. If the PC's telling you're going to get Australia in a month, run a mile. Yeah, it's just absolute bollocks. Yeah, it's the diet, it's the work. Yeah, you know, they're just, to me, that's not a good PC.
You get a lot of it online now, don't you, where they're trying to sell it, and of course people are desperate. But it does make me laugh. I mean, what do you think Anthony's mates would have said about this? They wouldn't have been happy, would they?
No, I think they would have probably thrown him off the cliff, or just left him at the bottom of the sea somewhere.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, that's one thing you can say about these SAS guys. They put 110 in, you know, stuff like this. They understand totally. It's back to basics. You put the work in, you get it out, and there's no scripting. But
that's it.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they're superhumans, and everything they've done is just by sheer determination, and they've just gone on with it. They've not kind of gone in to take the shortcut. No
shortcuts. Anyway, those two stories interested me. So anyway, thanks ever so much for coming on the show. I'm chuffed you came on. I contacted you because I thought you were great on the show, and I think the show is great anyway. I've always been interested in the military. One of my friends used to be in the SAS. And it's just, you know, it's something really interesting. But also that you were the first transgender, weren't you, on SAS? Is that?
I was.
Yeah.
It's, to me, it was insane. It was kind of like, I've actually made history. Like, there's never been a transgender person in there.
Yeah.
So it kind of blew my mind away when I was kind of like, okay, you're going on it.
Yeah.
But it was crazy, because I probably had like 2 weeks from being confirmed to being out there.
Jesus.
So I did not have any time to prep whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll cover that in a bit. But what I'm interested in is obviously, what was it like growing up? Because I'm not sure of your history when you felt different, or when you wanted to you know, I don't know how it worked with you. Was it something that was always there in your mind when you were at school? How was that?
Definitely. I mean, I was born in 1990, so I was the last of the 90s generation, where we were sort of in that blur between new and old coming in.
Yeah.
So, you know, we still had tapes and stuff like that, but it wasn't quite old. So, you know, I remember when I was about 3 or 4 years old, that was probably the first time I sort of wore a piece of woman's clothing. And I sort of was like, I don't know why I want to do this, but I do. And then I kind of just grew up through my teens and stuff, trying to dress whenever I could. And then my teens were really hard, because obviously I started growing this massive beard. I was more hairy than a gorilla. You know, those puberty was kicking in hard and fast.
Typical, isn't it?
It was killing me. Like, by the time I was 12, I needed to have a razor.
Yeah.
Because I was already growing a beard and stuff. So, I then started getting really confused, and I'd look in the mirror and I'd just see this big, hairy sort of person. I was just like, God made you a man. You need to be a man. And the thing was, in my school, there weren't any gay kids. There was, there wasn't this openness. So I didn't really meet anybody who was different or gay. It was all just boys are boys, girls are girls. Yeah. That's it. There's no in between, or there's no switching.
Yeah.
So it was never really talked about. So because of that, I kind of just put it all back in my mind. And it wasn't until I went to college, I actually met a gay person for the first time. So I was 16.
Yeah.
Or I met people who were different with funky hair and stuff. So I thought, okay, I've got a chance to reinvent myself, but I'm not quite ready, or I don't quite know what this feeling is or why I feel different. But I know I'm not one of the guys, but I know I'm not gay either, so I don't quite know what's going on with me. But I stupidly went to college, which was right in Manchester city centre.
Yeah.
And not that I should be saying this, right next to a pub.
Yeah.
And it was known to be a college pub. So I'm not going to name it for legal reasons.
Yeah.
But it's quite easy to get served, and obviously, being this big, hairy person. So I kind of went from pretty good GCSE grades to just spending all my time in this pub trying to be this over-the-top kind of manly man, and basically getting straight E's in all my A-levels.
Oh God, yeah. So what was your support bubble up to that point? Did you tell your parents, or was it something you just tried to keep to yourself?
It was hard. It was I was sort of I am an only child,
right?
And I kind of really struggled socially as well to kind of fit in. So I didn't really have a support network. I kind of couldn't tell my parents because I didn't quite know what it was either.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite talk to anybody about it. So I kind of just kept it bottled up and was being this sort of really angry, really over-the-top guy, just trying to overcompensate.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of same through college and uni. I got on better with the girls than the guys. But at the same time, I still didn't quite know what was right with me.
Yeah.
And then somehow I ended up getting a job in the real world after uni and having to be all grown up and stuff. So I moved away from home. And then I sort of had this freedom to start dressing and stuff. So, but I was still very angry. But, so I had great friends, I was earning money, I had a good job. And I just kept bottling up. I just kept being really angry all the time, just flipping out at people. My dad said to me, he kind of said, if you don't change, you're either going to end up in prison or somebody's going to knock you out.
Yeah.
So that was when I was like, okay, I need to accept this. So I sort of went to a support group and I just said, look, I'm really confused. I don't know what it is. I think it's this. And yeah, they were great. Like, I met other trans people and I thought, wow, they've been through the same as me. They've experienced the same thing. They've experienced depression. They've experienced suicidal thoughts and all that kind of stuff. They've been to those dark places. And that kind of was when I was like willing to accept it and said,
I bet that was an amazing feeling, weren't it, when you went there and you thought, wow, you're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you. I bet that was a great feeling, weren't it?
It was honestly, it's like they say, it was the weight lifted off your shoulders, but it was literally like I could feel air coming off my shoulders. Yeah. It was just amazing. I was like, there's other people like me.
Yeah.
And I think I was 25 at the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of then was just like, yeah, this is who I am. So tell my parents. My mum was like, yeah, I kind of figured it out.
Oh, bless.
She was like, she had that motherly instinct.
Yeah.
My dad struggled, so we had a rough year.
Yeah.
But we made it through, and now we're in a good place. We're both accepting. And yeah, so it was then that I kind of said to myself, you know what, I've always wanted to try the circus and stuff like that. So then I kind of nervously went along to this pole studio and had a private and sort of group lessons. And it was in this group where I was just like, nobody cared about the fact that I was this 6'4" trans woman that was still quite hairy, still having laser on her face, still sounded really sort of deep voice and stuff. You know, they just straight away from day one accepted me for who I was. Yeah. And then through that, I kind of built that great support network, and I found something I was good at in life. And it kind of molded me into who I am now.
Yeah.
You know, it took me from this very dark place of constantly being depressed, you know, not having any confidence, to being able to own who I am and be proud of it.
It's when you think back, what could have been done different? Because I suppose that's one thing I would be thinking in your position is there anything that could have been done earlier on? Because I suppose there's kids that it's happening to now, and you think, how can you help them and say it's okay and try and shield them? Because I suppose you don't want another kid to go through that in their teens. Teens is hard enough. But how can you catch that? You know what I mean? It's difficult, isn't it?
I think it is balance, because I think one of the things that stopped me from coming out later on in life was because obviously the internet wasn't really particularly great back in the 90s. You know, it was when you had the old dial-up modems and it made that silly sound and you'd be sat there for 2 minutes. So, come on.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any of that online stuff, and, you know, nobody talks about it. So I think the thing is, now there's a lot more information. And I think, you know, if kids can see that there's people out there like them, then it's gonna make it easier. And as long as there's support networks, and this is sort of another area that's a bit tricky, because, you know, at 16, you're still quite young. You might not know what it is. So you've got to have that balance between saying to the kids, this is people who've been through this is how they cope with it and their experience. And, you know, let's have a chat about it. But, you know, you still want to make sure they're not rushing into anything.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I hear all the time now about sort of 12-year-olds who want to go on hormones and want reassignment surgery. And I don't think we should deny it, but I think we should have some safeguarding in there that says, let's just take a step back, have a conversation, and, you know, revisit it, or, you know, live like that for 6 months, and then we can come back to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think, I just think now there's, you know, a lot of kids who they have to put themselves under a label. They have to be part of this and that. Whereas I just say, screw labels. You know, you are who you are. You know, if I don't really label myself, I just call myself Holly, the lady who flats up the mountain. That's who I am.
I think the great thing, like you said today, is awareness is a lot better. Social media, and like I said before, social media can be bad, but it can be great for things like this. And people like yourself, just going on TV, and other people that might be young lads, teens, anybody watching you and thinking, wow. So I think what you're doing is amazing. Just little things like that, isn't it? Definitely that makes such a difference. Now you talk about the support group. So you went to a support group. How did that work back then?
Oh, that was entertaining.
Oh, go on.
The sense of, so bear in mind that I was probably about 24, 25. Now, I didn't have my teenage years to learn how to do makeup. So I kind of learned off YouTube. And let's just say my early days were pretty dire. So it was actually a really terrifying experience to go to these groups, in the sense of, you know, you'd leave the house in a dress or whatever you wanted to wear, have attempted to make up and I look like me personally, I ended up looking like a bad drag queen most of the time in the early days. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So, there was that fear. It would take me an hour just to get the courage to step outside and get in my car. So if the group started at 7, I knew I had to start getting ready at 5, because I might get in the car at 6, and then I might get delayed and spend another 20 minutes in there when I get there.
Yeah.
So I might make it for 7 then.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that was interesting about the groups were you had old and young generations there.
Right.
So you had some sort of older ladies in their 50s or 40s who were sort of, in their generation, it was still very taboo. So, I sort of took the courage to go there, somehow make it. And then once I was in there, I was fine. And, generally, they kind of work with, you'll sit around a hall or something, and you'll kind of just make friends and talk to people. And sort of, you'll share experiences, share makeup tips and stuff like that. And then through there, you kind of build connections and Facebook friends. But the only thing is, they're good initially, but I found after a year, it kind of just gets a bit boring, sort of going and sitting there. So I used to go to one in Birmingham, which met in a place called the Equator Bar in sort of the gay village.
All right.
And I met this lady called Melanie, who, I'm not going to say her age, but she was significantly older than me.
Yeah.
And she was amazing. Like, she was so confident and stuff. And basically, she was in a band, and all the members were trans. And then I started doing stand-up comedy around that time as well, because I thought,
as you do,
that's it. I kind of thought, I want to do something that's what's the scariest thing I can do to improve my confidence? So I started doing stand-up comedy.
Oh, God.
And I got to know Mel quite well, and we started going out around Birmingham quite a lot in gay village. And then they kind of started getting regular gigs around there as a band. And then they were like, well, why don't you come as our warm-up act? So next thing I know, I'm kind of touring with this all trans girl band, doing stand-up comedy to warm crowds up. And, we're only talking like little pubs and stuff. So, we're talking sort of 50 people, 100 people or something.
Yeah, it's still fucking scary.
That's it. But it was then by going out and stuff and actually getting out there that I sort of met other people, and that was when I kind of really sort of my confidence started growing. So, I think these support groups are amazing for those initial steps and meeting other people. But for me, it was kind of after a year, I was sort of getting more out of going around getting drunk on Saturday nights with the girls after touring with the band and stuff. And then
but I think what's interesting there and what you said is what you're being quite fearless. You are. Well, you're not being fearless, but you're being very courageous in that you're putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. And I've said this before on the podcast that, and I've done it myself because I'm a filmmaker in the Midlands, and I've had to go down London on my own and go to meetings. And I know what it's like when you're sitting outside and you're thinking, I really hate this feeling. But I remember someone said to me once, when you feel uncomfortable, you grow. So you must put yourself, I know they say it on SAS, don't they? But put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And it's hard. It's so hard. But afterwards, don't you feel great?
It's amazing. It's like, I think the hardest situations I was in was there's the gong shows at the comedy stores.
Yeah.
And if you've never been to the gong show, you go, because it's where sort of every comedian who's made it has started out. Every sort of comedian you can think of that's on national TV has started in the gong shows. And basically, a gong show works. The audience members have 3 cards. So 3 separate audience members have cards. You've got to try and get through a 5-minute set without all 3 cards going up. If all 3 cards go up, you get booed, and they play you're a loser, and you get kicked off the stage.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
If you're looking for a confidence boost,
go
and do that.
I've always said that being a comedian, that is got to be one of the most scariest things. I've got a book, Steve Martin book, which is fascinating. It talks about the show, you know, the hundreds of shows that he did, and hardly anyone laughed, and the anxiety. It's proper hardcore, isn't it?
It's hard because it's like, you know, it's such up and down. Like, you can have an amazing night one night, and the next night you can tell the same jokes in the same ways with different audience, and you can fall flat on your ass. So, yeah, and like every single sort of famous comedian will tell you they've had gigs where nobody has laughed, and it has been horrible.
Wow.
But yeah, I found that just by putting myself in these uncomfortable situations, and you know, I use myself a lot for the comedy. So one of my opening gags that works a lot was the other day I was walking down the street and some rather rude builders shouted, "Get your tits out, love." So I did, and I threw them at them. Which,
that's quite a good joke, actually.
That's it. It works.
Yeah.
So it always got the crowd on side. But yeah, it was always that before going on, there was always that bit of, oh, what am I doing in my life?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Wow. It's just amazing. I think, and it's a good point. I think regardless of who you are, what you are, to be able to laugh at yourself is such an important thing, isn't it? Never take things too seriously, because I think you can just make yourself feel so unhappy if you take things too seriously.
Yeah, because I mean, my dad's always been quite a jokey person. And, you know, he's still a family man and a provider for the family, but he knows how to chill out as well, and, you know, just have fun and not let things get on top. So I kind of get it from my dad, that side of things. Yeah. But yeah, no, just have fun, like. And the thing is, the stories that I would tell, they're from real stories. So, you know, there's gags about the dodgy makeup. There's gags about where, you know, drunken nights, I'd be in my heels, and I'd be in the village, and I couldn't be bothered waiting to go in the girls because the toilet's too long. Sorry, keep the toilets too long. So, you know, I'd go in the guys. We stood there at the urinals with my heels on, and just sort of lift the dress up, off we go. Yeah. It was, you know, being able to laugh at that stuff and say, yeah, that actually happened. It was just great.
Have you always been so self-assured, or has that took time? Because to me, you seem very sure of yourself, or is this something that you've had to work on?
I think it's sort of, I've always been quite a nervous kid, and then I don't know where this kind of self-assurance came from. I think it came on later in life, when I started sort of going out more and doing things. So yeah, I'd say definitely it's something that's only happened through the experiences I've done, and was not a natural thing. Yeah. You know, it's probably sort of 10 years worth of stuff that I've been doing that's built it to this point. Yeah. So yeah.
But that just shows you it can be done regardless of who you are, how you feel. You can work that experience up. And I suppose that's one of the big things about people that are maybe transgender or don't know quite who they are. They worry they're alone, and they're never going to be happy. And that's just not, you know, you're living proof that that's not right.
Yeah, it's, you know, the thing is, like, you can get anywhere you want in life, but you have to be willing to fight for it. So, and I think it's that fight where you get your self-assurance, because it makes you go through stuff, like you said, being uncomfortable, stuff that you don't necessarily want to do, and that's how you kind of gain that self-assurance.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's important to do these things, and I think that as the world is kind of opening up a bit more to things like transgender, etc., it's going to get easier for people to take those steps. Because the thing is, you know, you can look at all these Instagram models and whatever, but we all know there's been hours and hours of choosing the perfect filter, about 300 takes. So yeah, just keep going. You will eventually get there. It took me about 10 years to get to the point where I am today.
Mm.
And I started from being a very nervous sort of, hi, my name's Holly, to where I am now.
Yeah, where I suppose you were trying to be someone you're not,
Yeah,
like a
that was it.
character. Yeah, whereas now you're
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah. What?
it,
What? I mean, being transgender in this day and age, I think people are a lot more open now, a lot more accepting. What do you think? That we talk about transgender and we talk about this non-binary thing, and I know that's causing a lot of division. What's your take on that? Because I think for me personally, all these different the worst thing anything can do is cause division. So I think we've got to be
absolutely.
so careful. What's your take on that, Ollie?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just say be who you want to be. So I don't really read into the whole, well, I'm non-binary, I'm transgender. I just don't read into it because I just see a person.
Mm.
And, if that person's changed their sex from birth, then fine. But to me, they're just who they are.
Mm.
It's sort of like, there's a word for people who basically will date somebody pure in their personality rather than their gender.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see life. And, this is a problem. Like, communities are here to support each other, not sort of tear each other apart and divide. So to be honest, I think labels can actually be a really bad thing and cause these divides.
Yeah.
So my kind of take is just be yourself and don't try and fit into a label or feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Just if your name's Derek, your name's Derek.
Yeah.
If you like, doing drag at the weekend, then you're still Derek to me, or whatever your stage name is.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of labels and feeling like you have to be fit into that label.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of people being themselves and just sort of saying,
I think
this is me.
I think the big thing is these days is when you get these very famous stars coming on and saying, I want to be this and I want to be that. And I think that's where it's causing division. We had, there's a Hollywood actress, Ellen, I can't remember who her name was. And so because they're in the media spotlight, I think that causes division because like you said, why do they have to tell the media who they want to be?
That's it.
And I think that's the problem with that.
Because, I mean, if you take Caitlyn Jenner, if you speak to I'd say if you speak to about 80% of the trans community, they hate her.
Yeah.
And it's just because, she's obviously this very influential person who has the power to change things and do something good. But all she's doing is selling this false image.
Yeah.
And even putting her own community down. Like, literally, you can get, as you look at me, I could not be further away from that person. And it was kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted to do the show, because I don't really wear makeup. Unless I'm going a night out or I'm performing, I don't sit there in a dress. I don't sit there wearing makeup. I don't sort of sit there in pillow fights and stuff. I'm a big, muscly, 6'4", ripped lady, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
So, I think that half the time, a lot of celebrities do it just for the publicity. I don't think they're genuine.
That's the
So I think,
and then when people rip her apart, Caitlyn Jenner, it's, you're being transphobe and things like that. Well, no, it's nothing to do with who you are. It's to do with you're an idiot, regardless of who you are.
I think the thing that sort of probably where she became the most hated and the point where she lost a lot of her own community was when she said that unless you look like a perfect woman, you're not a woman. You're not a trans woman. But bearing in mind, we don't all have millions of pounds in our bank pocket, so we can't all fuck off to an island and hide from the world until all our plastic surgery is done. we've got to get out there to Sainsbury's, get our shopping, not knowing quite what we're doing and not how the team has got this behind us.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of these celebrities who, unless they're authentic, and you can kind of tell when someone's being authentic and they're not. I'm just not a big fan. Although,
you're trying to say to me the Kardashians are not authentic?
I know. I'm sorry.
That's my favourite show.
I'm sorry to break that illusion to you.
You've ruined it for me.
I'm sorry. That's your Sunday night. It's done now.
No.
I bet you were going to go to the leaving party and everything and have a screening at home for the end finale.
Oh, my God. Oh, God.
But at the same time, I'm kind of like, you're a genius. You made millions out of being an idiot, basically, and having no skills in life.
Yeah, look, if that's how you want to be, but you say that, but then deep down at night, when the cameras aren't there and they're on their own, are they happy?
That's it. I don't think they are. But it's until you're in that situation, you don't know. But I am firmly, and I will go on record for this, I hate Caitlyn Jenner. I think she's probably the worst possible person you can have to promote the transgender society. I
would agree, and I can't really talk because, what do I know? But it does, I think it causes more division, which is a shame when there's, people like you that are genuine, got more, you're real, far more than she ever is. And, but no, that's a fair point. Okay, right. So before we get to SAS, tell me about the circus. What's that all about?
So, how
because you're fit, you're strong, ain't you? I can just see you there. You're a strong woman.
What are these old things?
Look at that bad boy.
I'm like,
oh my God, look.
A little bit of no. So how the hell did I end up in the circus? I ask myself that question every day. So, to be honest, I've always been a bit of a daredevil.
Yeah.
I started Taekwondo at the age of 7, got my black belt when I was 12.
You didn't say that.
I was in the Air Cadets when I was 13.
Right.
I flew solo in a plane when I was 16 before I took my first driving lesson.
Okay.
I spent 2 months working in Malta as a dive master when I finished college.
Well, you missed all this out, didn't you, earlier?
Well, I've got to keep something out there. But to be honest, so I've kind of always had that daredevil in me. And when I started transition, I was like, I want to do something that I want to do. So I thought, I'll have a Google and see if there's anywhere that does circus lessons or stuff. So then I found this pole studio, an aerial studio near me. So I was like, I'll just go for one and give it a try. So I went there and I just I did something called aerial silks, which is basically... Imagine swinging on your mum and dad's curtains.
Woohoo!
But 5 meters in the air, without them shouting at you, basically.
Kids don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should do that. I'm not saying. Or maybe just do it once, just to see the reaction.
Yeah.
But be safe and have a crash mat.
Yeah.
So I just went along and literally, it just felt dead natural, like. I was kind of like, I wasn't really struggling with it. I mean, it is incredibly hard. Like, it is really hard. And then I kind of thought, okay, well, I'll start doing group lessons. And then I started doing the group lessons. And it kind of just grew from there because I was in a place where I was accepted. I was never judged. And I found this really safe, cool environment with all these amazing, strong people who just took me for me. So then I kind of, I really enjoyed this. So then I thought, I'm going to start competing. So then I started competing, and I'm at, I won a 4-time championship at the minute. So I was due to go for my 5th title, but that was literally the week after I got back from SAS. So I was like, I've earned too much of a good reputation now. I'm not really ready to. Going to do this one, so I'm going to bow out.
So is it just the silks you do, or do you do pole? Anything aerial?
I do pretty much everything. So what you find is a lot of people, they try everything, but they specialize in one or two. So I love the silks, and most people hate the silks to start with because it requires so much of body strength.
Yeah.
So I also do aerial hoop, which I hate. And I hate it just because I like being in the air, but for me, I find it really painful.
Yeah.
Like all forms of aerial hurts.
Yeah.
Pole hurts, it all hurts, but that I find particularly painful.
Yeah.
But right now I'm focusing a lot on aerial straps, which is the hardest aerial discipline out there. So to give you an idea, so it's basically two rigid pieces of material, usually made out of polyester and cotton wrapping, or Kevlar with a cotton wrapping. And you would wrap it around your wrist to hold, and that's kind of all you've got. And then get up, you have to do a muscle up, where you would wrap it around your wrist, and then you wrap it again, and you would literally you have your wrist like this, and then you have to kind of pull up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
and then push down. Like you probably can't see them, but like my forearms are all bruised.
Yeah,
it takes chunks out of my legs. People think that you're in a physically violent relationship when you come back from training sessions.
It's quite freeing. I mean, I can understand. I mean, yeah, I've never done silks, but I can understand it's quite free. I used to do monkey bar. I still do pull-up. I still train a bit. And there's something quite freeing, isn't it, about the pain, but the fact that you can do it and you really, there's no, for me, when you're pushing yourself against your own body weight, it's not like you're carrying a weight. You are the weight. I suppose it's quite freeing. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, to me, I love just performing to my favorite tracks. It's a lot of hard work. It usually takes me about 3 or 4 months of training, 3 to 4 nights a week, 4 hours a night for a routine, running the same routine for a competition. But it's just that feeling of, it just feels so natural to me. Of being, 5 meters in the air, no crash mat underneath, having a song that I'm really enjoying, and just throwing myself around. But it's like you said, it's so different to going to the gym and lifting weights, because I weigh 88 kilos at the minute, and my body fat at the minute is 20%. No, or is it 15?
It's going to be, but it's 15.
Yeah, basically it's really low.
Yeah.
So a lot of my weight is literally.
I know.
So
I said to because my son he's started going to the gym, and he's like, "Oh, you can't do," and I said, "Do some pull-ups, because a real man can do pull-ups." And I'm there. I'll do about 10. He'll go, 10. Is that it? I go, son, I weigh 14 and a half stone. I'm pulling 14. You know what I mean? And he can't even do 2.
Oh, well, this is it. So, because in my routines, I'm constantly, my whole body weight is suspended in the air.
Wow.
So I'm doing the equivalent of 10 to 15 pull-ups. The only thing that's keeping me on is my grip. It's using every single muscle in my body. Whereas, when I see people in the gym, and, if weights is your thing, fine. If it's what you're good at and you enjoy it, fair enough. But to me, when I kind of see people lifting a weight, I'm just I'm not impressed. I'm kind of like, well, you're isolating one muscle there.
Yeah.
Good for you for doing something and trying, but if you want a real test, I dare you to try pole or aerial. Because I always love it when we don't get many guys that do it. I'd say about 9% of the people who do it are female. And sometimes you'll get a couple where clearly the boyfriend's been dragged along by the girlfriend.
Yeah.
But he feels like he has to be the big man there, because he's in a room full of women who can do all this stuff, and just the screaming it's great. Within 2 minutes he's screaming, fuck. We're not even started yet. This is just a warm-up, mate.
Oh yes, it's a whole different level of strength. I mean, it's like when you watch the gymnasts, at the Olympics and stuff like that, you just think, wow, they are just phenomenal, aren't they? Hey, I'm surprised you've never thought about doing Ninja Warrior. You ever thought
I have
about
actually auditioned for it.
behaviour? You
I
should
did years ago.
Yeah.
I got to the auditions, the audition was basically, it was in a CrossFit gym, and they kind of did the equivalent of the course. But I didn't make it on, obviously. So
I bet you would now. I bet you would now.
that's it.
Yeah.
I'd tempted to give it a crack again. So maybe.
Do it.
But yeah.
Right.
But it's kind of just from the competitions,
Yeah.
I then started getting paid gigs. And that's kind of how I ended up in the circus.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. So from that, then you start getting paid to do something you love.
Exactly. I was like, I don't make enough to make a living on it, so still has to be a boring project manager. But before COVID, I was getting to spend my weekends and evenings just getting paid to basically be a clown.
Is it a traveling circus, or is it in the same place?
It's various. Some of them are sort of corporate gigs where you're there for an event.
Yeah.
And then some are guest performances at sort of traveling circuses. So it's a bit of everything, really.
Oh,
so, and that's what I like.
Interesting, though.
Oh, yeah, you meet such cool people.
Yeah.
It's always entertaining, because the one thing that you have to get comfortable with this is being around nudity.
Yeah.
Because there's no dressing rooms. Most of the time, your dressing room, you're doing a corporate event, is a toilet. So you will literally be there as a troupe. There'll be boobs out, there'll be willies out, and you have to just be comfortable with just getting changed.
Yeah. Right, let's talk SAS then. So,
right, let's do it.
what led you to apply for it, first of all?
Yeah, so I was asking myself that after 2 minutes of being there, but I think I've always been a daredevil. I've been a fan of the show for years because I just thought it's such an amazing idea, and I think it was because I was finally comfortable with who I was that I was finally sort of ready to say, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. If I get on, great. And also sort of, I wanted to show the sort of world that not all trans women want to be Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
We're not all interested in being these sort of perfectly hourglass figures.
Yeah.
I really wanted to kind of challenge people's perceptions of gender and show them what trans can be and not what they think it is. So yeah.
So you were,
and also
so you applied, and then now this is what makes me laugh when I always say, my wife say you'd be good on that. Well, I wouldn't know, I'm too old, but back in the day maybe. And I always laugh because I'll go, oh, they're struggling. What I'd do if I knew I was on the show, 6 months training, I'd go up mountains, I'd go to Scotland, I'd get all trained. But you're telling me you only got two weeks' notice.
That's it. So I think I applied in January when we were in lockdown, because obviously we had lots of free time.
Yeah.
So I did the application, and then I think it was like a month or 6 weeks before I got the call, and they kind of said, oh, we've read your application. We'd really like you to go through to the next stage. Oh, and also you've got to pass these fitness tests.
Yeah.
So I then had 2 weeks to pass the fitness tests, which was a 1.5 miles in under 9.5 minutes, a minimum of 44 press-ups in under 2 minutes, a minimum of 50 sit-ups in under 2 minutes, and carry 2 20-kilo weights for 2 minutes.
That's not too bad compared to what they put you through.
Yeah, I mean, the run was hard.
Yeah,
I'm not a cardio person, so that was the hardest bit. I mean, the press-ups and stuff, I was like, come on, give me a challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, we did that, and then it was kind of, I remember I was going to a friend's birthday, and I was in the car, and it was with a friend, and I got the call. And it was like, you're confirmed, you're going to be on it. It's like, yes. Oh, shit.
Then reality kicks in.
Yeah. It's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
I was just like,
oh my
God. Because the thing with me is I don't train legs. Like, I've never trained legs.
Oh my God.
Run.
Oh.
So I didn't have that luxury of having about a good few months to
Yeah.
and put that solid training regime in there. I basically just had to rely on the fitness I had already.
Did you go crazy for them 2 weeks? Did you just try and blast everything out?
Well, to be honest, I thought I could do, but I'm just going to knackering my body. So what I did was I just thought, right, running is my weakness. I'm just going to get to the park and run 5 days a week. So pretty much all people saw was me in a pair of combat boots running around the park looking like I was going to die for about a week and a half.
Yeah, too late. Too late. You needed far longer. So then you get onto the show. Whereabouts is it filmed?
Well, it changes every year, but this year, because of COVID, so we actually filmed it in October when technically we were still under lockdown. So, and it was sort of good and bad. So this year, because of the COVID, we had to self-isolate for a week. And basically, me and 2 other recruits, we turned up at Manchester Airport like 5 a.m. They'd all got us cars to get there. And we didn't know where we were going because they hadn't told us where we were flying to. And we had to get a tetanus shot before we went out there. And the guy said to me, I need a destination. I was like, I literally don't know, mate. They've not told us. So he was like, well, I've got to put somewhere. So I was like, well, put Nepal down. It's always somewhere exotic.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. So we got there, and then it was only when we checked in that she was like, right, so you're off to Dundee. And part of us was like, fucking Dundee in October. So we get to Dundee, and then we get bunged in a hotel. And the next thing they know, they're like, right, so tomorrow morning you're going to be doing a swim test.
Oh, fuck.
So 8:30, we're in a pool and we're treading water, we're holding our breath and stuff one by one. And it's like, right, that's done. Go pack your shit. You go into another hotel now. So that was like the first time that I saw most of the people. Then we all were like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All sort of staring at each other. Then we got put on this coach, and it was like a 3-hour trip through these Scottish mountains. And we weren't allowed to talk to each other at any point because they wanted to. No, because they wanted to capture all the bonding moments on camera. So we were all sort of constantly stood around, or we'd be sat there, and all we could really go was like, hiya.
Yeah, nightmare.
Yeah. And it was just because of COVID, we had to self-isolate in a hotel to form a bubble. So literally for like 7 days, we were in this really nice, quirky Scottish hotel in Pear Tree, and we were getting waited on hand and foot, 3 meals a day. You know, the hardest task we had each day was to fill out what we wanted for our meals for the next day.
Yeah.
And we were allowed out for like an hour each day to just go walk around. So I sort of used that time to, again, go work on my running and ran around in some mountains, which still wasn't enough time, but, you know, it is what it is. And then we had to have 2 COVID tests. So I'm not kidding you. 5 a.m, the medic was knocking on people's doors in a full hazmat suit and sticking cotton wool up our noses. And like a few people, they forgot that he'd come round, so they just wake up to this guy in a hazmat suit, forgetting what the hell it was there for.
So when did you first meet Ant and the team? Then was it when you were on the bus towards the destination?
Oh no.
Oh right.
So we only actually. So basically, we were in the hotel, and we were told to be in the hotel lobby for 3 a.m. So we were in the hotel lobby 3 a.m. It's pitch black, it's freezing, and it's kind of right. Leave your suitcases, leave all this. Your transport's here, and these 4 old school Land Rovers that you see a lot in the pit turn up. The windows are down, the heaters are off. It's pitch black, it's freezing. The drivers don't say anything. We all sort of get in there, and then next thing you know, we arrive at this train station. Bearing in mind, we've not been told anything. Yeah. It's just kind of go along with it. Yeah. And we get these mic packs, and then we get put on the train. And that's the first time that we're all allowed to actually interact with each other and speak to each other after about a week. Wow. And then, so that's when you see, like, obviously Ant and the guys dive in. And
did they introduce themselves?
Well, they make it known that they're there. So they literally, we were all on the train. And the thing was, we didn't know what to expect because we saw people getting on and off the train. Yeah. But they were obviously extras.
Yeah.
Now we think back about it. So they dive in. It's literally, as you saw on the programme, these guys in balaclavas just dove in. There was nothing, no warning. They just dove in.
Yeah.
And then the bit that you didn't see is when they marched off the train, there was that gravel line next to the train track.
Yeah.
We were basically, it was run over there, held in the press-up position for about 5 minutes. You know, Ant's like, right, do you want to be here? Anybody want to give me your numbers, you fuckers? Well, and then it's, stop making those stupid noises, you bunch of... You know, and honestly, the shock, everybody was the same. We were all like, where's our energy gone? You know, we're on a gravel lane. It's pitch black. We've got Ant yelling at us. The other guys are in balaclavas still, and we're like, what the fuck are we doing here? It got real at that point.
Yeah.
It got real at that point.
Because you're thinking, I bet you were thinking, Ant, come on. Hi, guys. Yeah, just introduce myself. I'm Ant. I'll be Joe. No, none of that.
Oh, no. No, but the other bit you didn't see is from there as well. He made us crawl on our hands and knees on that gravel pit, which is full of gravel and mud. So literally, within the first 10 minutes, everybody's knees and elbows were shredded.
Oh, my God.
And at the end, we got more hold this press-up position and stuff. And we got blindfolded. And then we were thrown into the Land Rovers. And then it's kind of, you know, it's hilarious when you see us running across the fields because we were blind. We were literally, everybody's just trying to hold on to the person in front, and we were falling left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
My pants were falling down, and obviously at the time it wasn't hilarious, but looking back, it was literally the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. So when you get to base then, and you've got all your little beds and everything, and you get set up.
Beds?
Well,
Beds?
It looks, it's very basic, of course, but it looks freezing cold in there, is it?
Oh, it's terrible because, you know, when we got to that base, the thing is half us had lost either one or both shoes, and it's all stone. So we're trying to run down to the thing, and they're all yelling at us, hurry up, you cunts. And meanwhile, me and Jamie, we were literally hovering next to each other going, fuck, and just getting stabbed in the feet with these stones. And yeah, I mean, literally, the only warmth we had at the base was this one little log burner where I was quite lucky because my bunk was quite right next to it. So I was very popular. And we had to chop our own firewood. So if we wanted to be warm, we'd have to chop our own firewood before the task, or before we knew that we were going somewhere, and get it burning so that when we got back, the wood was ready and there was some form of heat. Yeah. But even with the heat and that thing going, you were still freezing. Yeah. Even wearing a fleece and the t-shirt, because we only had 2 sets of clothing for the whole thing. 2 sets of underwear, 2 tops, 2 pairs of pants, 2 fleeces, 2 pairs of boots. That's it.
Did you feel like you're on a TV show, or that just completely leave you, and all of a sudden it's like a competition sort of thing?
I think it didn't. So for me, it didn't feel so much like competition, but it didn't. I just didn't have time to grasp the fact that I was on TV because, you know, obviously you see on TV the condensed version, but in reality, you know, the first day was about a 22-hour day for us. Yeah. You know, nobody slept because when you had 21 people or however many people were left by the end of the first day, it sounds like a bomb going off when people are in their sleeping bags.
Oh, God, yeah.
So nobody slept, but it's, you know, when you're at base, you're chopping wood, you're trying to stay warm, you're prepping your kit, you're doing little support to help each other. So you completely forget about the cameras and the fact that this isn't real life. Yeah. You're sort of just so focused on trying to get a bit of rest, trying to make sure you don't screw up with the kit, make sure that's all good to go. And, you know,
did you get on well with everybody in there? I know there was the mole, of course, but you got on with everyone in there and connected?
That's it, because, you know, I was nervous about being trans, so I did not know how they were going to take me. Yeah. You know, because obviously we all share the same block, we all shit in the same place. So I was quite nervous about that. But, you know, I think when you're in a situation like that, it feels so real, and the fear is real. There's no kind of playing up to the cameras. If people are crying, that's real tears of fear. So we had to work together to get through it. You couldn't sort of be like, oh, well, I can't be asked chopping firewood. It's like, you've got to chop the firewood. We need to get this done as a team. So we created great bonds, and we bonded straight away. We all still speak to each other. We've got a reunion that's going to be happening in July. So we're going to be having a barbecue, which will be the first time that everybody's sort of seen each other, but we've all sort of met up as well since.
Oh, that's good.
We've created bonds for life, because I can't explain, until you've been in there, you will never understand how intense and real it is.
I can understand.
That was the thing that hit me the worst. Like, this is really real. The fear for me was, wow.
Yeah.
I thought like, it's nothing. But when
strong.
he's into the way,
yeah.
Oh God, they're scary guys.
Yeah.
They're lovely guys when they're not in instructor mode, but
yeah. What I quite like about Ant, and obviously he's gone off the show now, and I listened to him on a podcast, and he was saying he doesn't like being told what to do, and he likes to have an opinion, which I can understand, because you've got all the woke thing going on, and I don't know, but obviously when he says to you, fuck off, and it calls you cunts and things like that, it's nothing personal, it's to get the best from you. What I like about him is he's very genuine, and I think he really understood where you were coming from and wanted you to do well. Did you feel that?
Yeah, you can have, everybody's got their opinion of Ant, but from the time I was there, I thought he's a really incredible guy. Just the way he holds himself and the way he is, he's a really incredible guy, and I've got nothing but praise for him. And you could tell when I was getting interrogated, you could see this kind of, oh, well, this isn't what I pictured a trans person to be. And you could see that sort of genuine sympathy. Because I'll never forget, like, when I handed my number in, to see that switch from crazy instructor to, I'm going to kill you, just fuck off, to this guy, he was just like, just literally your guy down the pub. Was that when they were talking to you in the room? Well, in the room, obviously, they had to hold everything back because they're still in instructor mode. You could see in the back of their eyes that they were empathizing and they understood, stuff, but they can't all of a sudden go, oh, here's a hug, it's all right.
They're never gonna tell you that. Never. Did they do that afterward? Do you ever get that, or is it, is that an unwritten rule? No, you never get that.
No, they have like a bit of banter with you, but it's got to be for it to work. That mentality of them and us, they have to stay like that because it just wouldn't work.
I'll tell you what makes me laugh is I watched an episode, I think it was the one after you'd gone, and they did something, they were jumping between rocks, they were in a freezing cold pool or something like that, and Ant turns around and says, don't get fucking complacent because I've been easy on you today. I've been easy on them. They've been in a gas tank, they've been gassed, and it's like, because we've been easy with you. Don't get complacent. What fucking hell?
That's it. It's 100% the whole time. No. There's never any. Obviously, there's those bits where we laugh and have a bit of time in the accommodation and stuff. But even when you're eating, you feel under pressure to eat there quick because we have to serve our own food. We literally get 2 mess tins, 1 knife and 1 fork and 1 spoon.
Don't lose them.
Well, that's it. The other thing as well is there's 2 buckets of water and everybody has to wash their tins in it. So you made sure you were the first to finish your meal. Because if you were last.
Now this is my take on how you did, Holly. You've admitted you skipped legs a little bit, which I think you've got to have powerhouse legs, and your CV's got to be,
Yes.
I mean, it's so hard. But mentally, I think I'd have loved to have seen you get to the interrogation scene at the end, because I think you'd have smashed that. What do you reckon, honestly?
I think like the interrogation, I could have handled it.
Yeah.
And even the stuff like abseiling down the cliff, jumping between the cliffs, being in the cold water, I could have handled it.
Yeah.
But the thing that you don't realise is, so your Bergen has to weigh 40 pounds everywhere you go. And they have scales, and they will literally measure it. And Rebecca, on the first day, when we were halfway up the mountain, before the race had begun, I mean, just getting to that starting point was a bit of an intense one. They got the scales out, and hers was 3 pounds under. So we all got put in the press-up position with our Bergens on the side of this mountain, and she had to run around and find the fucking rocks, putting her Bergen. And they're all sort of screaming at her, "Get your ass up, come on." And we're all just there like, oh.
Was it?
So, yeah.
Would you say it was the mat? I mean, I've climbed a few mountains in my day, and I think people underestimate them. Do you think that's what finished you off? Is that it's?
I think that's it. Because the thing is, when they drop you on a task, they never put you right next to it. So you're always like, you have to constantly be climbing up mountains on soggy ground in combat boots with 40 pounds of kit.
Yeah.
So for me, that was just something so different I'd never really done.
Yeah.
So, I was just I accepted the fact that was going to be a regular thing.
Yeah.
But I was just proud of the fact that I went so I passed out. I was just like, I said I was going to keep going until I passed out, and that's what I did. So
I think the only way you can train for that is by doing exactly that, going up mountains in soggy. You can run all day, but it's not the same as putting the miles in up those soggy hills, is it?
That's it. With weight, like even running with weight on flat ground, it's just adds such a whole new level to it.
Yeah.
So, for me, because I don't train legs, I'm not a big runner. I didn't have the time to, get that going.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of finished me. But it wasn't really the main reason why I VW'd.
Yeah.
The main reason why I kind of VW'd was because I woke up on that morning and, my body was battered. I was tired and I wanted to carry on. I really did. But I kind of had this moment of, actually, you know what? I'm really comfortable with who I am. And look at what I've done over the past 2 days. I've made history, and that's enough for me right now. I've earned the respect of SAS veterans who've been there and done the real thing.
Yeah.
Like, for me, that's enough for me. I don't need to run up a mountain or throw myself down a cliff to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah.
I sort of feel like I'm at peace with myself for the first time in my life.
Wow, that's brilliant. I bet that felt brilliant, didn't it?
It was amazing. Like, I know you didn't show it, but when I left the base with my Bergen on, I was literally skipping and doing like little jumps in the air and stuff.
Yeah.
So, for me, that was kind of, I've got what I wanted to get out of it.
Yeah.
I don't need to keep proving stuff. I've proved that I can do some dangerous stuff. I've proved that I'm strong. I've proved that I can get down and dirty, handle really tough situations. The beasting, obviously, on the second night. And I think whatever we did, we were going to get beasted.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We couldn't win on that. We sort of knew that was coming.
Yeah. And I think what amazes me about the show is, you've got a lot of different backgrounds, different people, some people's history. I can't remember the name of the bloke. I think it was Jamie or who'd been
Jamie.
God bless him. That is horrendous. But for him, I think doing the course, really will help him. It's a kind of therapy, isn't it? It's a way of sort of breaking through a barrier.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, like, obviously Jamie was one of my main people there because he was my bunkmate. So we used to check each other's kit all the time.
Yeah.
And he really helped me in those few days. he sort of was like, because when I collapsed, obviously they came back for the task and they didn't know if I was coming back or whatever. So they were just getting on with it. So when I walked back in, that bunk, Cody's like, oh. And he sort of said to you, he's like, well, if you can collapse like that and then come back and carry on going, then I can keep going. And, he's a really lovely guy. And I think out of everybody, he's probably one of the people I got closest to.
Yeah.
He's so genuine, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's just so many different stories. But I think because we'd all been through stuff, we all had that ability to just carry on as best we could.
Yeah.
And it just worked. I remember sort of the bit that they didn't show as well was after that beasting when we were all soaking wet, I had no dry gear. Like both of my sets of clothes were wet.
Yeah.
So we had to I think the next morning we were up to 4 a.m, sort of trying to dry our clothes. So it was, I think, me, Rianne, BB, and I think somebody else. We were all stood around in our knickers and just a towel around us, trying to dry our stuff by the fire.
Yeah.
And it was 3 a.m, but it was just a really nice chat. It was hilarious now we think about it.
Yeah.
And then obviously we were up at 5 a.m. again because we knew it still wasn't dry, so we had to go and try and dry it some more.
Has it give you a newfound respect for the SAS? Do you think now and it's not even the full course; it's just a pinch of the course.
Yeah.
Does that give you a new respect for the people?
Oh, that's massively. But I think it's also given me more respect for the previous series contestants.
Right.
Because, now that I've been there, I appreciate how intense and hard it is. And granted, they said that our series was the toughest one yet. And it definitely felt it. I was hoping for maybe a nice little 5K to start off with. Just ease into it. No
chance.
So, I mean, seeing these guys move, seeing Jason Fox zigzag for the mountain like he's just on a general stroll. I'm just you're all superhumans. Melvin, what a guy.
Yeah.
Absolute lunatic when he's in instructor mode.
Yeah.
But what a guy.
I know.
So,
I mean, Mark Billingham. I've been listening to quite a few podcasts with him. I've tried to get him on, but I couldn't get him on. But some of the things he's done, they're superhuman, aren't they? They're just the elite.
They are the real life superheroes. If Marvel created real life superheroes, it's these guys. But the thing which impresses me the most is how they can sort of go from these killing machines to these just down to earth guys that you can go down the drink for a pub. I don't think that there's many people who can do that as well as all the physical kind of stuff.
That's what makes them special. And they do say that the way you can turn your emotions on and off when you need to. It is amazing. Now, I always ask my guests for a favourite, so it can be a film or a book. Holly, have you thought of anything?
I have. So, one of my favourite films is a really old one, and it's called The Birdcage with Robbie Williams and Nate Williams.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Oh, God, yeah. I've seen every film you can think of. Love that film. I haven't seen it for a long time, though.
No, I love it. I've watched it over 100 times, but I think it's just, I think 'cause I can relate to it, because obviously for those people who haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's a great feel-good comedy. So basically, Nate Williams and Robbie, is it Nate Williams? The guy who's super gay. Robbie Williams and Nate. So they have this gay couple in Miami who own the club. Robbie's the director, Nate's sort of the drag queen and the sort of diva. And Hank Azaria's in it as Robbie Williams' son.
Yeah.
Now, Hank Azaria is getting married to this girl who's the daughter of a senator and a very sort of proper and old valued family. So she hasn't told him that her fiance's dad's a gay and stuff. But after a scandal, they have to go to Miami to meet. And so Robbie Williams has to play it straight and sort of be these straight guys. And the thing which I love about it is, there's a line there that really sticks to me where he kind of goes, I spent 30 years fighting for who I am, and you want me to throw it away for one day? You can fuck off. It's just something that I can relate to, and something which I love.
I love that.
I love how it's old school Hollywood as well. It's just good old fashioned comedy.
It is. It's great. It's a great film. I haven't seen it for quite a few years now, but I love it when guests come on and tell us about old films, because people like my son, he looks at all the modern day stuff, and I'll say, look at some of the older films. There's some class, and he'll watch them. And go, wow, Dad, I can't believe how amazing that was. I'm like, I told you. That's a great film to pick. I love that.
It's like with the. Sorry, I was going to say, I know they're politically incorrect, but even the old Naked Gun and Police Academy films.
Oh yeah, that's part of history, isn't it? People say you don't eradicate history. Yes, some of it was politically incorrect, but who cares? It was fun at the time, and it was all harmless fun. It wasn't. They weren't
exactly.
They weren't trying to be personal or anything. And I think what you said today is great, and is the perfect example of, with the SAS, they're not being personal. No one's attacking you personally. They're just trying to help you evolve, and and we've got to remember that. I always ask people, my guests, for a bit of advice. It can be a bit of advice that you've been given that's great, or something you give to someone. What advice have you got, Holly?
So I think for me, the biggest piece of advice was from one of my friends called Mel, from the band, and she really sort of helped me sort of become who I am in the early days. And she said to me, why the fuck would you want to fit a label that already exists? There's too many out there. Create your own label, darling. And it just rings true to me, which is why I thought, well, I'm doing this podcast, so I could be all glamorous and stuff, but that's not what I do on a day-to-day basis. Day-to-day basis, I'm sweating it out on the equipment. I'm covered in bruises. I'm bleeding. So today's piece of advice is, find something you're good at in life, because everybody is good at something. For me, it happens to be throw myself 5 meters in the air. Surround yourself with the people in that community, and just be yourself. Don't force yourself to be a label because you feel like you have to. Create your own label. Just be you. Just be yourself. And people will be able to tell when you're being yourself, and it will shine through. You'll be happier, and the chances are you'll get on better with people.
That's a great bit of advice, piece. And the other thing I'd say, which we talked about early, is if you're in an uncomfortable situation, sometimes push through. If you know it's the right thing, push through, because you'll grow from it. And that's what you've done. And that's what I found fascinating about yourself, is you've had all these hurdles, but you keep jumping them, you keep pushing yourself, and you seem now in such a great place. You're very comfortable with yourself. I love you say that about not having to wear makeup, because you're happy with yourself. And I think that's a great bit of advice to give people, especially young people today that are looking at Instagram and things like that and trying to be who they are. So brilliant bit of advice, Holly. Thanks so much.
No worries. I think it's important. People know who I am now. And every time I go out, I get stopped in the street. And that's something that I tell people all the time. I'm not going to...
And that advice, it's like we said earlier on in the interview, if just one young person sees that or hears that, and it makes a difference to them, then your job's done, isn't it? We can be
massively.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been getting messages from people sort of saying, I had one lady who was like, I'm 50 years old. I saw you on it, and I think I'm this, and you know what, I am. So after seeing you, if you can have the courage to do that, then I can have the courage to come out. So I've come out to my family, and knowing that I've given people that courage to just go out and accept themselves, it's just amazing. And that's what I wanted more than anything from the program. I'm not interested in becoming some Instagram model or some big
Caitlyn Jenner.
influencer. That's it. I'm honestly, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
You know, if it happens and it's for the right reasons, then great. But my main focus is I wanted to show people that you can be yourself and, you know, you can still be accepted.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, if people want to get in touch or just see what you're up to, Holly, where's the best place on social media to find what you're up to?
Absolutely. So I am mainly on Instagram. That's the main one. I'm not on Twitter. I tend to just do a lot of stuff on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is Free Flying Aerial Holly. Free Flying Aerial Holly. I've got my SAS picture on there where I'm looking all serious and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
And then a few days later, oh fuck.
Yeah. What am I doing? Fuck off. That's done. I'm out. See you later, guys.
In some sense, it's great that you know yourself and you know when you've had enough. Whereas some of them on there don't, and they just keep going.
That's it. I think it takes courage to say, you know what, I've got weaknesses.
It does,
but I'm prepared to accept them. So if people want to get in contact with me on Instagram, it's Free Flying Aerial Holly. I will always reply to any messages sent.
Oh, bless you.
It may not be straight away, but I've replied to every single message that I've had.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
Don't feel like you can't message me.
Well, what I'll do is I'll drop the link in the bottom of the podcast anyway, so we'll make sure we've
awesome.
Well, look, Ollie, it's been an hour. I could talk to you all day. It's been an absolute joy and an honour to speak to you because you are so brave and what you've done is just absolutely phenomenal. So make sure you keep doing it. And keep up to date with us and come back on next year so you can tell us what you've been up to then and when you've been Ninja Warrior UK and won that.
Let's see. I'll train legs there this time. I'll have a bit more time to train the legs.
Train legs.
But because I mean, to be honest, one of the things I'm working on at the minute is I'm trying to do a transgender suicide awareness campaign.
Right. Okay.
And create a piece of aerial theatre.
Yeah.
So I'm using the combination of my skills in the aerial world.
Yeah.
And sort of theatre side. And bringing them together to raise awareness of the transgender suicide rates in the UK.
Yeah.
Because, according to a recent sort of survey, 84% of trans people in the UK have contemplated suicide.
Oh, God, yeah.
And that's for me, 84 too many. And, 3 in 5 face physical and verbal abuse.
Yeah,
it's just shocking the statistics. So I've got a chance to change that and change people's minds. So I'm trying to create this piece of aerial theatre which is going to, highlight these issues in a way that's actually engaging rather than here's a leaflet, here's some statistics. So I'm trying to crowdfund £10,000.
Okay.
I've managed to crowdfund £420 in a week.
Yeah.
Which I'm amazed at. So
we'll put links. Send me those links and I'll put them in the link as well.
Cool.
But that's another phenomenal thing you're doing. And if you want to come back on the show and talk more about that, by all means, come back on. I know we've been talking about SAS all day today. Oh, bloody SAS.
I've loved it. It's been really good.
Good. Thanks.
Like I said, it's a chance to inspire people. So definitely. I've loved it.
Brilliant. Well, look after yourself. God, it's so hot today. Have a great rest of the day and the rest of the week. And I'll speak to you soon. Okay?
All right. No worries.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Okay. So that's it. Massive thanks again to Holly for joining me today and also to you for listening. Can't wait to watch the final and see who wins. Not wins. And always says it's not a winner. It's just who completes the course. Make sure you follow the podcast because coming up in the next months, there are some more extraordinary interviews, just as good as this one with Holly. The podcast streaming on all the usual platforms, Spotify, iTunes, just put My Way of Thinking podcasting. We're also on YouTube if you want to look at this beautiful beard. It's not, I'll cut it a little bit shorter. It was better when it was a lockdown beard. Who's got a lockdown beard? Email me. Anyway, I'm joking. To keep up with Facebook on social media, keep up with social media. Facebook is More Way of Thinking Podcast. Instagram's More What Podcast. And Twitch is More Way of Thinking without a G on the end of 3 instead. Okay. And if you'd like to get in touch with you think you'd be a good guest, or you know someone would be a good guest, then email me, mowhatpodcast@aol.com. Okay, love this chat. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Until next time, God bless. Take care.